Chapter 1988. It was a mess, a complete mess. The celestial city was in chaos. Without the help of the Emperor-level experts, their speed was extremely fast. Not long after, they finally arrived at the edge of the celestial city. They rushed out of the city walls and rushed towards a citadel in the distance. Not long after, they successfully arrived at a citadel. Boom, boom. Even though they were far away, they could still hear the violent roars coming from the celestial city. From the celestial city, there were constantly figures rushing out in all directions. Lu Ming and the rest did not stop and went to the teleportation array. However, most of them did not follow Lu Ming and the rest. Instead, they returned to their respective sections. Lu Ming, I have to return to the Divine Origin Empire first. The invasion of the foreign races is no small matter. The Divine Origin Empire must be prepared. Ouyang Wushuang said to Lu Ming, "All right, let's split up. We'll meet again in the future, but you must stay alive." Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he looked at the crowd. Definitely. Everyone must stay alive. Alliance leader, take care. Everyone bid farewell to Lu Ming and stepped into the teleportation array. In the end, only the people from the ancient moon sacred ground, Luo Xiang, Huang Li, and the rest were left. Let's go. They also stepped into the teleportation array and teleported to the teleportation array outside the ancient moon sacred ground. Then, they flew towards the ancient moon sacred ground. After flying to the ancient moon sacred ground, Huang Ling, Long Chen, Luo Tianyi, Yi Dongfang, and the rest left and returned to their respective sections. Now, the major forces in the ancient moon sacred ground probably had not received the news. They had to return as soon as possible to make preparations. In the end, Lu Ming brought Xiang Xiang, Xuanning Xin, the 9 sky prides of the desolate race, and Luo Xiang back to the Great Evolution Pill Hall. After returning to the Great Evolution Pill Hall and settling everyone down, Lu Ming found Uncle Kong and told him about the invasion of the three-eyed god race in the celestial city. The evil god race has invaded. It's earlier than expected. Uncle Kong sighed. His face was solemn. Evil god race? Uncle Kong, where did these three-eyed monsters come from? Lu Ming asked. Kong Bo's cultivation was unfathomably deep, and he had lived for an unknown number of years. Perhaps he knew many secrets. They come from another world and call themselves the three-eyed god race. That's just boasting. We call them the evil god race. A long time ago, they attacked the heaven realm. After such a long time, most of the territory of the heaven realm has been conquered. Now, they have been trying to open the space barrier and invade the primordial realm. Uncle Kong said with a solemn expression, as if he was unwilling to say anything further. Lu Ming, your current mission is to focus on cultivating and improving your cultivation. You are not qualified to be involved in a battle like this. Lu Ming nodded. Even the Heaven Realm and the Hunyuan sect could not stop them. What could he do to stop them? Oh right, Uncle Kong, can you help me save someone? Lu Ming said. Then, he released the mid-autumn moon from the mountain river diagram. Until now, the mid-autumn moon was still unconscious. Uncle Kong's cultivation was profound, and he was the guardian of the Great Pill Evolution Hall. He was proficient in alchemy, so he might be able to save her. Uncle Kong stepped forward and waved his hand. A wave of energy shrouded the mid-autumn moon. After a while, Uncle Kong retracted the energy and frowned slightly. Lu Ming's heart sank. He quickly asked, Uncle Kong, how is the mid-autumn moon's injury? What a domineering method. She must have been attacked by the law of deprivation. Uncle Kong said, Yes, the person who attacked her has mastered the law of deprivation. Lu Ming said, No wonder. Uncle Kong said in a low voice, The injuries on her body are basically healed, but her soul is severely injured. Her soul is injured. Lu Ming was shocked. Soul injuries were the most difficult to heal. Yes, this girl's soul was attacked by the law of deprivation. She is seriously injured, so she has not woken up. If she wants to wake up, she must condense her soul. Otherwise, she will never wake up. Uncle Kong said, What? Lu Ming's heart trembled. He could not help but clench his fists tightly. It was possible that she would never wake up. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent towards Luo Tsangqiang was extremely strong. After taking a deep breath, Lu Ming calmed himself down and said, Uncle Kong, is there any way to condense the soul of the mid-autumn moon? Uncle Kong frowned and pondered. After a while, he said, now, we can only put the girl into the great pill evolution cauldron and use the alchemy fire to nourish her body. Every once in a while, we will need to add in some sacred herbs. This way, not only can we maintain the vitality of her body, but also prevent the remnants of her soul from dissipating. She can even slowly condense her soul. However, this method is only a temporary solution. If you want to completely wake her up, you will need other methods. Uncle Kong said, all right, I will do it immediately. Immediately, Lu Ming took out the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron and placed Autumn Moon inside. He controlled the alchemy fire of the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron to envelop Autumn Moon's body. Then, Lu Ming added in some sacred herbs. Under the effect of the alchemy fire, the medicinal efficacy of the sacred herbs seeped into Autumn Moon's body. Uncle Kong, do you know of any other methods that can completely wake Autumn Moon up? Lu Ming continued to ask. Uncle Kong shook his head and said, I have been in seclusion for many years, so I don't know much. However, you can go to the Vientiane Tower and ask around. Maybe you can find a method. This girl will be fine in the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron for a few hundred years. Don't worry. Vientiane Tower. Lu Ming's heart moved. Unfortunately, the celestial city was in chaos now, so he could not ask around for now. Fortunately, the mid-autumn moon was fine for now. He could only slowly look for a method in the future. After chatting with Uncle Kong for a while, Lu Ming left. Following that, he brought Xiang Xiang and called Ouyang Moli over and introduced them to each other. Senior sister. Ouyang Moli bowed to Lu Xiang Xiang. Actually, Lu Xiang Xiang was 2 years younger than Ouyang Moli. But at this moment, she had her hands behind her back and looked at Ouyang Moli with curiosity. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Ouyang Moli. She said in an old-fashioned manner, You are second junior brother? Your cultivation is not good enough. You have to work harder. Yes, senior sister. Ouyang Moli nodded his head, and Lu Xiang Xiang still had that old-fashioned look. She nodded her head slightly, and her eyes were filled with excitement. She felt that the taste of being the senior sister was pretty good. Lu Ming found it funny. This girl really had the demeanor of a senior sister. Xiang Xiang, don't be arrogant. Your second junior brother has only cultivated for about 2 years and is about to become a saint. If you don't work hard, he will catch up to you. Lu Ming said with a serious face. Less than 2 years? So fast? Lu Xiang Xiang blinked her big eyes. Ouyang Moli's cultivation speed was even faster than hers. Ouyang Moli had the body of reincarnation and had obtained the heart of the realm from the reincarnation emperor. His cultivation speed was shockingly fast, even faster than Lu Xiang Xiang. In addition, with Uncle Kong's guidance, his foundation was extremely solid. He had already reached the peak of the half-saint realm and would soon become a saint. This kind of cultivation speed was too shocking. As his master, he felt ashamed. However, Lu Xiang Xiang and Ouyang Moli were true children of the heavens. They were not like Lu Ming, who was born with exceptional talent. It was normal for his cultivation speed to be fast in the early stages. Later on, his cultivation speed would slow down. For example, Heng Xinghe had been stuck at the peak of the Paragon Saint realm for 1 or 2 years and had not broken through to the Boundary Emperor realm. There are many prodigies in the world. Don't be arrogant. Lu Ming warned seriously. Yes, master. Chapter 1989. In the following days, everyone cultivated in the Great Development Pill Hall. Lu Ming would often go to the Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect to find Long Chun and Huang Ling to understand the situation. The invasion of the foreign tribes shook the entire Yuan Mountain. Many powerful forces in the ancient moon's sacred ground were alarmed and began to gather the experts scattered across the land. As time passed, news about the invasion of the foreign tribes continued to spread. The Celestial City was completely occupied. The overlords of the Celestial City, Hung family and He family, fled the Celestial City and their whereabouts were unknown. Countless martial artists died in the battle. The Celestial City suffered heavy losses. A few days after the foreign tribes occupied the Celestial City, they began to send an army in all directions of the Celestial City. Everywhere they passed, not even chickens or dogs were spared. One by one, the emperor-ranked forces were attacked by the foreign tribes. From the martial emperors to the women and children who didn't know martial arts, everyone was killed. Everywhere they passed, blood flowed like a river and hundreds of millions of corpses were lying on the ground. Everyone was moved. The foreign tribes' methods were too ruthless. This was simply a massacre. The emperor-ranked forces around the Celestial City retreated to the 8 great sacred grounds. Among the 9 great sacred grounds of the Yuan Mountain, the Celestial City was at the center. The other sacred grounds surrounded the Celestial City. During this period, emperor-ranked forces poured into the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. As for the foreign tribes, they sent an army to attack in all directions and began to approach the other sacred grounds. 2 months after the battle in the Celestial City, the first foreign tribe army appeared outside the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. When they attacked the ancient Moon Sacred Ground, they were defeated by the experts of the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. In the face of this unprecedented pressure, all the powerful forces of the ancient Moon Sacred Ground temporarily put aside their grudges and formed an alliance. The Wind Clan came forward and gathered all the forces together to build a huge base. Many forces gathered together to resist the foreign tribes. The number of clashes between the ancient Moon Sacred Ground and the foreign tribes began to increase. Chaos is coming. Lu Ming stood on the peak of the Great Development Pill Hall, looking into the distance and muttering. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed from the distance. Its speed was too shocking. When Lu Ming reacted, the ray of light appeared in front of Lu Ming. When Lu Ming saw the true appearance of the ray of light, he couldn't help but be shocked. A 1-meter-tall stone man with a stone sword. Wasn't this the sword of the Celestial Arch? Also, that was the Celestial Emperor's physical body. Although it was countless times smaller than when they first met, Lu Ming still recognized at a glance that it was the Celestial Emperor's physical body. In the previous battle, the Heavenly Monarch's physical body wielded the stone sword and killed 2 great monarchs consecutively. Later on, Lu Ming and the others returned to the ancient Moon Sacred Ground, but there was no news of the Heavenly Emperor's body or the other great emperors. At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's physical body and the Celestial Emperor's sword had actually come here. And from the looks of it, they were here for Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Celestial Emperor's body and Celestial Emperor's sword moved and flew into Lu Ming's glabella. They floated in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming was a little confused. At this moment, a white light flashed in front of Lu Ming and a figure floated out. It was the Celestial Emperor's figure. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly bowed. Junior Lu Ming greets Senior Celestial Emperor. There's no need for formalities. I'm just a mark. The Celestial Emperor's figure smiled. Senior Celestial Emperor, why are you here? Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. Back then, wasn't the Celestial Emperor's physical body controlled by Xinghe? Why was it flying into his sea of consciousness together with the Celestial Emperor's sword? Xinghe is too selfish. He only cares about himself and not others. He is not qualified to control the Celestial Emperor's physical body. You, on the other hand, have a good character. You are decisive and talented. Most importantly, you have something to protect. Moreover, you can pull out the battle sword that I left behind. This is enough to prove that you are qualified to control what I left behind. The Celestial Emperor's figure nodded. Lu Ming couldn't help but touch his nose. He wasn't as good as the Celestial Emperor made him out to be. He was just not that selfish. Senior Celestial Emperor, is the Hung family really your descendant? Lu Ming asked. The Celestial Emperor pondered for a while, seemingly recalling the past, and said, I'm not a human. I achieved Tao with a stoneman body. When I just achieved Tao, I had a descendant with a human woman. That was the Hung family later. Speaking of which, the Hung family is indeed my descendant. However, countless years have passed. These juniors seem to be getting more and more useless. If you have a grudge with the Hung family, you don't have to worry about me. Senior Celestial Emperor is actually a stoneman who achieved Tao. Lu Ming's heart stirred. No wonder the Celestial Emperor's physical body was a stoneman. The battle sword he used was also made of stone. Senior, your cultivation is so strong. Back then, how did you? Lu Ming was very curious. He wanted to know what the Celestial Emperor experienced back then. With Celestial Emperor Hong Yu's cultivation, why did he fall? You want to ask me why I fell, right? The Celestial Emperor's figure smiled and said, speaking of which, I didn't fall. Didn't fall? Lu Ming was overjoyed, but he was immediately filled with doubts. If the Celestial Emperor didn't fall, why would he leave behind a physical body and a mark? I'll have to start from the evil god tribe, the Celestial Emperor's figure said. Immediately, the Celestial Emperor's figure told Lu Ming in detail. In ancient times, foreign tribes invaded the Heaven Realm and fought with the mighty figures of the Heaven Realm. At that time, heaven and earth were penetrated and connected to the primordial realm. Many relics of the Heaven Realm fell into the primordial realm. Some Heaven Realm cultivators also entered the primordial realm. Of course, there were also some foreign tribe cultivators who entered the primordial realm. However, the foreign tribe cultivators who entered the primordial realm were only a minority. Later on, these foreign tribe cultivators hid in the primordial realm. There were even strange and terrifying races who took over the bodies of humans and established their own factions. For example, the Demon Spirit Sect, the Evil Spirit Sect, and others. These factions specialized in hunting down human prodigies and human cultivators. Lu Ming finally knew the origin of the Evil Spirit Sect. It was actually created by foreign tribe cultivators. No wonder many Evil Spirit Sect cultivators, like the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe, were afraid of his prison-suppressing monument. A long time ago, the foreign tribe found a weak point in space and wanted to open a passage to let the evil god tribe's army in. However, they were discovered by the Celestial Emperor Hong Yu. In order to stop these foreign tribe cultivators, a great battle broke out between the two sides. However, among the foreign tribe cultivators, there was a terrifying cultivator who specialized in attacking souls. He was also a Celestial Emperor, and he tore apart the Celestial Emperor Hong Yu's soul. Although the Celestial Emperor Hong Yu killed the other party in the end, his own soul was close to collapse. In the end, the Celestial Emperor Hong Yu used his remaining strength to seal the other party's 8 thearchs into a small world. With the power of the small world and his own physical strength, he suppressed the passage. Lu Ming finally understood the origin of the Lotus World. However, although my soul was scattered back then and only a wisp of remnant soul was left, when I was about to die, I had a great enlightenment and broke through to another level. Instead, I condensed a physical body and came back to life. So, speaking of which, I can be considered someone who has died once. Chapter 1990. I've recondensed my body and come back to life. Lu Ming was shocked. He could imagine the unparalleled power of Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu back then. He single-handedly blocked many foreign race elites and killed their Heavenly Emperor. He used the power of the small world to suppress the void passage and prevent the foreign race from invading. Finally, his remnant soul came back to life and reached a higher level. If this was written into a book, it would be a legend. However, Lu Ming had another question. Since the Heavenly Emperor was not dead, where was he now? Why did he only leave a mark? He did not appear in the previous battle. As if seeing Lu Ming's doubts, the Heavenly Emperor's figure explained, the Yuan realm has not reached the time for the real war. The war in the Heavenly Realm has reached a critical juncture. There are 9 heavens in the Heavenly Realm, but the other 8 heavens do not have a passage to the Yuan realm. Only the last heavens, the Taiching Heavenly Realm, has a passage directly to the Yuan realm. Now, the remaining elites of the Heavenly Realm are guarding the Taiching Heavenly Realm. The evil god tribe has always wanted to take over the Taiching Heavenly Realm and then use the passage to invade the Yuan realm. I am now fighting in the Heavenly Realm. Lu Ming was a little dumbfounded. Today, he learned a lot of secrets. This body of mine is a stone body. It is now like a puppet. I'll give it to you. I hope it can help you. The Heavenly Emperor's figure continued. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The Heavenly Emperor's body was infinitely powerful. He had seen it before. It could even kill a great emperor. If he could control it, he would immediately become an unparalleled elite. The Golden Crow tribe and the Wan family would all be destroyed. Don't be happy too early. To control this stone body, you need energy. In the previous battle with the foreign race, I used up all my energy. Now, this mark is about to dissipate. So, to control this stone body, you have to constantly let it absorb energy. The more energy it absorbs, the stronger it will be. This stone body is like a puppet. Now that it has no energy, it can't be controlled and can't exert much power. The Heavenly Emperor's words were like a bucket of cold water splashed on Lu Ming's head. It looked like he was happy for nothing. However, Lu Ming immediately became excited again. This was the corporeal body of a celestial emperor. If he absorbed enough energy, he would be able to unleash terrifying power. Now, I'll teach you how to control this stone body and how to absorb energy. The Heavenly Emperor's figure walked over and tapped a finger on Lu Ming's forehead. Some information immediately appeared in Lu Ming's mind. All right, this imprint of mine has completed its mission. It's time for it to dissipate. Little fellow, I look forward to the day when you grow up. The Celestial Emperor smiled. Senior. Lu Ming felt a little sad. Haha, there's no need to feel sorry for me. I'm not dead yet. My main body in the Heaven Realm can sense everything that's happening here. I hope we can meet in the Heaven Realm and fight side by side. The Heavenly Emperor's imprint smiled. Then, like a wisp of green smoke, it dissipated and disappeared between heaven and earth. Senior, I believe it won't be long before we meet again. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. Then, he sat cross-legged and carefully comprehended the method of controlling the stone body and absorbing energy that the Celestial Emperor had taught him. 2 hours later, Lu Ming had comprehended everything. He activated his cultivation method and carefully sensed it. He found that whether it was the Celestial Emperor's body or the Celestial Emperor's sword, they were like the bottom of a dry lake. There was no energy at all, and he couldn't control them. Let's try absorbing the origin stones. Lu Ming waved his hand and took out 100,000 high-grade origin stones. He activated them according to the method taught by the Celestial Emperor. Clang! The Celestial Emperor's sword flew to the back of the Celestial Emperor's body. The two merged together as if they were one. Bang! 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 100,000 origin stones exploded in an instant, turning into billowing energy that was absorbed by the Celestial Emperor's body and the Celestial Emperor's sword. A moment later, the energy of 100,000 primordial stones was completely absorbed. Lu Ming hurriedly sensed it, and his face immediately turned bitter. He found that the 100,000 origin stones were not even filled with 1% of the energy. Not even 1,000th of the energy was filled. How much energy would it take to fill it up? Lu Ming was speechless. In the end, he gritted his teeth and took out 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones to let the Celestial Emperor's body begin to absorb. In the end, what made Lu Ming wail was that the energy of 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones was still not even 1% of the energy. Sigh, I'd better absorb the energy slowly. Haste makes waste. Lu Ming sighed and put the Celestial Emperor's body into the mountain river diagram, letting the Celestial Emperor's body absorb the energy between heaven and earth on its own. Now, Lu Ming felt that he was especially short of resources. The mid-autumn moon needed to refine sacred herbs often, and the Celestial Emperor's body needed a huge amount of energy. Fortunately, the Celestial Emperor's body could absorb any kind of energy, not limited to origin stones. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming cultivated quietly. Through the Celestial Emperor's words, Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency. The celestial realm seemed to be completely defeated. They could only defend the last celestial realm, the Grand Pure Sky, to stop the foreign tribes. If the foreign tribes broke through the Grand Pure Sky celestial realm, they would be able to send a large army through the Void Passage directly into the primordial realm. The passage in the Celestial Emperor City was just a small passage. More than 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. During these days, more and more foreign tribes came to the ancient Moon Sacred Ground to attack the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. The various forces in the ancient Moon Sacred Ground were under increasing pressure. In the end, in order to boost morale, The various sects joined forces and pooled their resources to create merit points. As long as one killed a foreign tribe member, they would be able to obtain merit points. Killing a martial emperor alien would give him 1 merit point. Killing a minor bright saint alien would give him 5 merit points. Killing a great bright saint alien would give him 10 merit points. Following this, as one's cultivation level increased, the merit points would double. With these merit points, one could exchange for all kinds of treasures, such as sacred herbs, sacred weapons, emperor weapons, origin stones, and so on. As a result, the ancient moon's sacred ground was in high spirits. The various major forces and the emperor-level forces from the outside world went out to hunt the foreign tribes. Lu Ming also decided to bring the group out to hunt the foreign tribes. Firstly, in a life or death battle, they could train themselves, stimulate their potential, and increase their cultivation level. Secondly, they could also exchange for resources, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Palace Master, go ahead. Take this jade talisman. If you encounter a martial emperor expert, crush it. The jade talisman will bring you back to the Great Evolution Pill Hall. Uncle Kong handed a jade talisman to Lu Ming. Lu Ming happily took it. This way, he would have less to worry about. If he encountered an emperor-level expert, he would be able to escape. After that, Lu Ming brought Huang Li and the other 9 desolate tribe geniuses along with Luo Xiang, Xiang Xiang, and Luo Xiang. Ouyang Moli's cultivation level was still low, so he did not bring him along. They flew to the west of the ancient moon's sacred ground and met up with Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Tianyi at the foot of a mountain. Lu Ming, this is the base built by the various forces in the ancient moon's sacred ground. Chapter 1991. The mountain was extremely majestic, and there were many majestic palaces built on it. There was no such mountain here in the past. Some time ago, the almighties of the various factions had forcefully uprooted it from the ground. It was 100,000 feet tall and had a radius of 10,000 miles. Every faction had built a huge and majestic palace on it. The various factions had sent a large number of experts to stay there. This way, the strength of the various factions could quickly gather and effectively deal with the attacks of the foreign tribes. They could also effectively counterattack. After all, the ancient moon's sacred ground was very big. There were at least 20 powerful factions scattered all over the place. If they wanted to gather the strength of the various factions at the last minute, it would be too difficult and would take time. If that happened, they would probably be attacked by the foreign tribes one by one. With a common base, the experts of the various factions could gather and mobilize them. It would be much more effective. Huang Ling and the others led Lu Ming and the others around in a big circle. Phoenix Palace, Divine Elephant Sect, and the others cultivated there. There was a huge palace. At the peak of the mountain, there was a huge and majestic palace. That was the place where merit points could be exchanged for resources. It was built by the various factions together. Currently, the strongest faction in the ancient moon sacred ground is one of the ancient clans, the Wind Clan. The Wind Clan is temporarily in charge, and the other factions are assisting. Huang Ling explained. Lu Ming nodded. Let's go and hunt the foreign tribes. A cold glint flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. Then, the group flew out of the ancient moon sacred ground. Soon, they flew out of the ancient moon sacred ground and into the wilderness. Whoosh, whoosh. High in the sky, a figure flashed by at an astonishing speed. It was an emperor-level expert. The emperor-level experts of the ancient moon sacred ground would naturally deal with the emperor-level experts of the foreign tribes. The ones they hunted were those below the emperor level. Boom, boom, boom. After flying for a while, they heard a loud explosion in front of them. Kill, kill. Intense battle cries came like a tide. In front, large groups of foreign tribes rode on strange beasts and stepped on the void, fighting with the human martial artists. It was extremely tragic. At a glance, there were countless figures. In the sky, there was a terrifying burst of light, and a terrifying pressure came down like a mountain. In the sky was the battlefield of the emperor-level experts. Rumble. As soon as Lu Ming and the others arrived, they were immediately targeted by the outsiders. The main reason was that Lu Ming and the others were too young. They attracted too much attention. The armored horses stepped into the air and charged towards them. The one leading them was a quasi-emperor expert. "Leave the quasi-emperor to me. You guys be careful," Lu Ming warned and flew forward, a long spear appearing in his hand. That spear had been obtained from Luo Pokong. It was an imperial armament. Whoosh! The spear pierced through the air, instantly traversing the void. Breaking through the destructive light shot out from the third eye and piercing through the opponent's head. A quasi-emperor was instantly killed. With Lu Ming's current battle prowess, he could instantly kill ordinary quasi-emperors. As for Huangling, Long Chen, Xiang Xiang and the others, they were also fighting with the others. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the spear trembled. The third eye of the outsiders flew out and was put into Lu Ming's storage ring. The third eye of the outsiders could be considered a miraculous refining material. Furthermore, the third eye of the outsiders could be used to exchange for contribution points. With the death of the quasi-emperor leader, this group of outsiders was no match for Lu Ming and the others. They were instantly killed. Kill them! In the distance, even more outsiders charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Their iron hooves stomped on the air, looking very mighty. There were at least several hundred outsiders. Furthermore, there were 7 or 8 quasi-emperors. With so many experts charging at Lu Ming and the others, beams of destructive light shot towards Lu Ming and the others before they arrived. These beams of destructive light were not only aimed at Lu Ming but also at Desolate Force, Xiang Xiang, and the others. Spatial barrier. Chirp, chirp. Bubbles stepped into the void and pressed down with her small hand. The surrounding void rippled like water, forming a barrier. When the beams of destructive light hit the spatial barrier, they were like stones sinking into the sea. It was unknown where they went. Kill. Lu Ming took the lead and charged forward. His emperor-level spear trembled, and beams of spear light enveloped 5 or 6 quasi-emperors. The weapons used by the three-eyed divine race were similar to the desolate race. They were all heavy weapons. They were either battle axes or hammers. They swung them and attacked Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's spear light. However, in the next moment, transparent bubbles suddenly appeared on their bodies, enveloping them. Following that, Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear, killing quasi-emperors one after another. With Lu Ming and Bubbles working together, ordinary quasi-emperors could only die. In the blink of an eye, 4 quasi-emperors were killed by the 2 of them. Courting death, a particularly burly quasi-emperor broke through the bubble shackles. His third eye shot out a beam of light that instantly rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spear trembled and swept towards the beam of light. Boom! The spear trembled, and Lu Ming could not help but feel his arm go numb. Kill! The quasi-emperor wielded his battle axe and charged towards Lu Ming. Not bad. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This three-eyed divine race was much stronger than the other quasi-emperors. He was comparable to the human race's superior heaven astral body quasi-emperors. Leave the quasi-emperors to me and Bubbles. You guys deal with the others. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xiang Xiang and company. Then, he held his spear and fought with the strongest quasi-emperor. As for Bubbles, she charged towards the other quasi-emperors. Lu Xiang Xiang, Huang Ling, Long Chun, and the others charged towards the quasi-emperors. Many people had gained something from the trip to the world of the Lotus. Long Chen and Huang Ling's cultivation had reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Huang Li's cultivation had also reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Tianyi had even reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Xiang's cultivation was comparable to Lu Ming's. He was at the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. With their combat strength, it was still easy for them to deal with the three-eyed divine race who were not quasi-emperors. They immediately killed a large number of them. Lu Xiang Xiang was enveloped in a ball of green mist. With a shout, a huge ancient tree formed. It was like the everlasting azure tree. It stood tall in the sky and suppressed a three-eyed divine race who was at the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Boom! The three-eyed divine race was directly killed by the everlasting azure tree. Not even his bones were left. Xiang Xiang's cultivation was only at the peak of the Great Saint Realm, but she could already kill an absolute saint. The combat strength of the Elysian children was indeed shocking. At the same time, Lu Ming had already exchanged a few blows with the Quasi-Emperor. I can't use the Imperial weapon alone. I'll use the 10,000 weapon incantation to refine the Imperial weapon into my acupoints, Lu Ming thought. He put away the Imperial weapon and used the chaotic finger of calamity instead. Whoosh! He pointed his finger at the Quasi-Emperor's battle axe. The Quasi-Emperor's body shook violently. He couldn't help but retreat. The battle axe in his hand was knocked away. Then, Lu Ming pointed his finger again. This time, the force was highly condensed. It formed a small finger force and shot toward the Quasi-Emperor. The Quasi-Emperor seemed to sense danger. A layer of black light covered his body. He punched at Lu Ming with both fists. Chapter 1992. After killing the opponent, Lu Ming rushed over and snatched the opponent's third eye. Then, he helped Bubble kill the other Boundary Emperors. In this way, those below the Boundary Emperor level were no match for them and were slaughtered in large numbers. Soon, this group of three-eye Divine Tribe members was wiped out. Then, they killed in other directions. This battlefield was very vast. In the sky, there were figures of martial artists and three-eye Divine Tribe members everywhere. There was no end in sight. Lu Ming and the others gathered together, and like a sharp knife, they rushed into the battlefield and killed the three-eye Divine Tribe members. With Lu Ming and Bubble's combat strength, they were almost invincible against those below the martial Emperor level. They killed the three-eye Divine Tribe members one by one. After a few hours of killing, in the distant sky, there was a violent sound of war drums. Then, the three-eye Divine Tribe retreated. The Ancient Moon Holy Land experts also retreated back to the city. Lu Ming and the others did not immediately go to the base to exchange for merit points. They did not have enough and wanted to wait until they had accumulated more merit points. Sure enough, on the second day, the three-eye Divine Tribe army attacked again. Many Ancient Moon Holy Land experts also went out to kill. In the empty Wild Mountain, they continued to fight. This was a war between two different races. It was a life and death battle. No one would show mercy. On the ground, there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood. There were human martial artists, demon martial artists, and three-eye Divine Tribe members. After fighting for a while, the three-eye Divine Tribe members seemed to feel that they could not win and retreated. But on the second day, they would attack again. After more than 10 days of fighting, Lu Ming and the others gained a lot. When the three-eye Divine Tribe retreated again, Lu Ming and the others returned to the base. They went to the highest point and prepared to exchange for some treasures. Lu Ming mainly wanted to exchange for sacred medicine and origin stones. You guys, take out the three-eye Divine Tribe's third eye. A group of old men stood on a huge counter. These people were all experts of the major forces. Those resources were jointly provided by the major forces. Naturally, each force would send experts to supervise. Lu Ming and the others took out their storage rings, and then a large number of three-eyed god races' third eyes appeared. It was piled up like a small hill, causing many people to be stunned. The third eye of the three-eyed divine race was like a gem, sparkling and dazzling. It was very beautiful and contained miraculous power. It could be used to refine weapons and was a good material for refining weapons. So many of them are at the Sage Realm or even the Boundary Emperor Realm. Terrifying. The son of Chaos Lu Ming. These people's battle prowess is too terrifying. Indeed, I've seen them fight before. They can kill quasi-emperors in an instant. Apart from martial emperors, no one else can do that. Around them, many people were looking at the three-eyed god tribe with burning eyes. Among them, a white-haired old man counted the eyeballs. These eyeballs of the three-eyed divine race could be exchanged for 1,000,000 merit points. How astonishing was that? What treasure do you want to exchange for? The white-haired old man asked. Wait, right at this moment, a cold voice sounded. Following that, a few figures walked out from the hall. The leader was a young man with an elegant demeanor. Feng Wuchen. Cold killing intent appeared in Lu Ming's eyes. Feng Wuchen also glanced coldly at Lu Ming and the others. Finally, his gaze landed on the three-eyed divine race's eyeballs and revealed a trace of greed. You want to exchange for treasures? Feng Wuchen asked. That's right. Lu Ming replied. I'm afraid that's not possible. You're too late. During this period of time, a large number of treasures have been exchanged. The number of treasures in the treasury has decreased sharply, so we can't exchange for them for the time being. Feng Wuchen sneered. Not enough treasures. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Ridiculous. We came here, and there aren't enough treasures. How can others have enough? Huang Ling sneered. Others have less, but you have more. Naturally, it's not enough. If you're willing to exchange for treasures at a discount, that's fine too. Feng Wuchen sneered. If you say it's not enough, then it's not enough. This place isn't under your control. The other seniors didn't say that it's not enough. Lu Xiang shouted, looking very unhappy with Feng Wuchen. Although many treasures have been exchanged during this period of time, the remaining treasures should be enough, right? An expert from Phoenix Palace said, That's not right. If the remaining treasures are all exchanged by them, then there won't be anyone else here. Won't that disappoint everyone and damage their morale? An elder from the Wind tribe said. The expression of the person from Phoenix Palace darkened, but he didn't say anything. This time, the ancient moon's sacred ground was led by the Wind tribe. The Wind tribe was undoubtedly the strongest. During this period of time, the other factions will continue to replenish their treasures. When they're done, you can come again. Feng Wuchen smiled faintly. How long will it take for the next replenishment? Huang Ling asked. A few months. Feng Wuchen said. Then we'll come again next time. Lu Ming said. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Feng Wuchen. With a wave of his hand, he put away the eyeball of the three-eyed divine race. Why don't you keep the eyeball of the three-eyed divine race? We'll record it in our account and won't shortchange you. Feng Wuchen said. No need. I can't trust a despicable person like you. Lu Ming said and turned to leave. The others smiled mockingly and also turned to leave. Damn it. Feng Wuchen's expression darkened. His eyes darted around as if he was thinking of a scheme. In my opinion, that Feng guy is deliberately targeting us. He's deliberately not exchanging for us. I really want to beat him up. Huang Li said unhappily. With so many factions present, they can't deny it. At most, we'll exchange for it later. Lu Ming said. Those resources and treasures were gathered by the various factions and didn't belong to the Wind tribe alone. They couldn't deny it. They just had to wait for a while. In the next few days, they continued to fight with the three-eyed divine race every day to train themselves. Ever since Xiangxiang Bela started cultivating, she had rarely fought with her enemies. This was a very good tempering for her. During this period, Xiangxiang's combat experience increased rapidly. Even her cultivation showed signs of loosening, nearing the great sage realm. This made the others sigh. The cultivation speed of the Elysian children was truly astonishing. On this day, they set off again and stepped onto the battlefield. Lu Ming, I want to separate from you guys and train alone. Huang Ling said. I have the same intention. Longchen also said. Then, Luo Tianyi and Huang Li also expressed their intentions. Although it was safer for everyone to gather together, it wouldn't have a good training effect. There wouldn't be the feeling of a life-and-death crisis. Only by facing danger alone could one stimulate one's potential and reach a higher level. If you want to cultivate the light of the laws, you have to train in life-and-death situations. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult to cultivate it. Luo Tianyi said. The eyes of the others also lit up with a blazing light. They were all geniuses and all had ambitions. They all wanted to become stronger. Only by cultivating the light of the laws could they suppress other Elysian children. Chapter 1993. All right, but it's best if there are two of you or more. That way, we can take care of each other. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded. Then, Luo Tianyi and Huang Li led the other geniuses and charged into the distance. Long Chun, Huang Ling, and Luo Xiang formed a group and ran into the distance. Bubbles, you provide support. If any of them are in danger, help them immediately. Lu Ming said to Bubbles. All right, brother Lu Ming. Chirp chirp. Bubble nodded, and her petite body flashed, disappearing without a trace. As for Lu Ming, He led Lu Xiangxiang and charged in one direction. Bam! Not long after, Lu Ming killed a three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor with one punch. He also took the three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor's third eye and a black bracelet. This bracelet was used by the three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor to store items. It was similar to a storage ring. Xiang, I'll leave these two to you. Lu Ming left the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors to Xiang in a flash. He took care of the rest. The battlefield was the best place to train. He thought that when Ouyang Moli's cultivation level was higher, he would take him out to train as well. Xiang fought the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors alone. The battle was intense. Not long after, Xiang successfully killed the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors. Lu Ming nodded in satisfaction. Then, he gave Xiang a three-eyed divine tribe member who was at the great mastery of the supreme sage realm. The three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor immediately gave Xiang fatal pressure. Xiang was in danger. Puff! Xiang Bear's shoulder was hit by the opponent's light of destruction, and a hole appeared. However, Lu Ming had no intention of helping. He had experienced too many life and death battles in his life. He knew very well that if one didn't experience life and death battles, it would be useless no matter how talented they were. Master! Xiang cried out, her face pale. Solve it yourself. As the son of life, do you want to always rely on others? Lu Ming said with a cold expression. With a punch, he killed a perfected absolute saint who was charging toward him. Xiang clenched her teeth. Her body began to emit a green light. She revolved the life laws and her wounds instantly healed. The life body and life law contained boundless vitality. It was many times stronger than Huang Ling's undying flame law. At the same time, countless vines appeared and swept towards the other party like long whips. But there was no doubt that Xiang was at a disadvantage. Although her talent was strong, it was a pity that she didn't have much combat experience, so she couldn't use her full strength. However, the more she fought, the more Xiang seemed to have found the ability to protect herself. Yes. Lu Ming nodded and then hunted alone in the surrounding area. Xiang had been fighting with her opponent for hundreds of moves. She had been injured many times, but with the help of the law of life, she had quickly recovered. What monster! The three-eyed godly being grew more and more frightened. His opponent couldn't be killed at all, but his injuries were getting worse and worse. After a few hundred moves, Fragrant Fragrance finally exhausted her opponent to the brink of death and killed her opponent. Xiang was also badly injured, but with the help of the law of life, she was recovering quickly. Master, I did it! Xiang came to Lu Ming's side. Her eyes were much sharper than before. Yes, not bad. Continue. Lu Ming continued to pass a three-eyed divine tribe member who was at the great perfection of the absolute saint realm to Xiang. Xiang was indeed very talented. She improved at a shocking speed in the battle of life and death. Her combat strength, the use of the law of strength, and her battle awareness and mentality were all undergoing huge changes. This time, Xiang finished off her opponent within 100 moves. Although she was badly injured, she wasn't afraid of being injured. Lu Ming nodded. He continued to kill the three-eyed godly being with Xiang. Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Huang Li were all going through difficult battles. Their opponents were naturally at the level of a quasi-emperor. Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Huang Li were all at the peak of the absolute saint realm. They could barely fight against a quasi-emperor, but it would be very difficult. Luo Tianyi's cultivation was higher, so she was better off, but she was also in a difficult battle. Everyone was in a battle of life and death, hoping to break through their limits and achieve a breakthrough. Whoosh! Suddenly, a destructive light pierced toward Lu Ming. This beam of destructive light cut through the void silently. However, Lu Ming had goosebumps all over his body. He could sense a fatal threat. Without hesitation, Lu Ming pointed in that direction. The power of the chaotic calamity finger gathered in his finger and clashed with the destructive light. Boom! Lu Ming felt a terrifying power surge toward him. He couldn't help but take a few steps back. His fingers felt numb. What a strong power! Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and looked forward. In front of him, a 5-meter-tall, three-eyed godly being rode a strange beast. He stepped on the air and emitted a terrifying aura. This three-eyed godly being wasn't at the martial emperor realm, but he was definitely powerful. Kid, I've been watching you for a few days. During this time, you've killed many of our people. Today is the day you die. Kill. The burly three-eyed godly being shouted. He waved the battle axe in his hand. The strange beast roared and stepped on the void, charging toward Lu Ming. Roar. That mutated beast roared, spewing out a jet of black light from its mouth, charging toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the three-eyed godly being's battle axe slashed toward Lu Ming. The giant axe seemed to be able to split the sky. Its power was terrifying. Saint weapons floated out of Lu Ming's body. There weren't many, only 37. Back then, when Shao Chun fought the quasi-emperor in the world of the lotus flower, most of the saint weapons sealed in his acupoints were destroyed. Only 10-odd absolute holy weapons remained. During this time, Lu Ming cultivated the 10,000 weapon art again. This time, he did not seal the bright saint weapons or great sage weapons. Instead, he sealed all the absolute holy weapons. He sealed a total of 36 absolute holy weapons. One of them was an emperor weapon. It was the emperor weapon spear that Shao Chun obtained from Luo Pokong. Although there were fewer of them than before, their might was several times stronger. Lu Ming held onto the long spear while the other 36 absolute sacred weapons hovered around him. The aura of the combat weapons merged and blocked the attack of the mutated beast. At the same time, Shao Chun thrust his spear upward and clashed with the other party's battle axe. Dang! Horrifying vibrations erupted. The other party roared and retreated 10-odd steps with the strange beast under him. As for Lu Ming, he also retreated. What strong combat prowess! It is equivalent to a quasi-emperor's sovereign body. This thought flashed in Lu Ming's mind, and a strong fighting spirit flickered in his eyes. This was the strongest quasi-emperor that Lu Ming had encountered so far. Previously, the quasi-emperors that Lu Ming encountered did not put any pressure on him. However, this quasi-emperor was different. It had the strength to threaten Lu Ming's life. Chapter 1994. Kill. Kill. Lu Ming and the three-eyed divine being roared as they fought. Lu Ming used the 10,000 weapon art to gather the aura of the weapons on the spear, making the spear's power extremely shocking. The spear light whistled and pierced the sky as it fought with the three-eyed divine being. The three-eyed divine being's battle axe fell like a storm. At the same time, his third eye would shoot out a destructive light from time to time. Its power was extremely shocking. The mutated beast would also attack Lu Ming. The spear vibrated, and immediately, hundreds of spear light pierced toward the three-eyed divine being. At the same time, he pointed with his left hand. Chaotic calamity finger. Swoosh. A terrifying finger force condensed into the shape of a thread and pierced through the air. This finger was not pointed at the three-eyed divine being, but at the mutated beast under him. Poof. That mutated beast's combat strength was equivalent to an ordinary boundary emperor. It could not resist at all, and its forehead was pierced. It died on the spot, and its corpse fell to the ground. Damn it! The three-eyed divine being roared, and his murderous intent became even colder. He attacked Lu Ming like a storm. Lu Ming held the spear in his right hand, and dense runes appeared on it. Soon, the runes covered the spear, and then the spear pierced out, forming a true dragon that whistled out. Lu Ming was using the spear to display the illusory spirit scroll of the 9 scrolls of Array Path. However, the true dragon was scattered by the opponent's battle axe. This was within Lu Ming's expectations. The spear vibrated again, and a destructive force erupted. This was the destruction scroll of the 9 scrolls of Array Path. Lu Ming was using the opponent to hone his 9 scrolls of Array Path so that he could merge the sealing scroll, destruction scroll, and illusory spirit scroll as soon as possible. To be honest, a boundary emperor's monarch body was very powerful and required Lu Ming to go all out. Using the 9 scrolls of Array Path alone, Lu Ming was undoubtedly at a disadvantage and was suppressed by the opponent. However, this was exactly what Lu Ming needed. In the face of adversity, His 9 scrolls of array path progressed at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of moves had been exchanged. Yes, that's the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up as he thrust out his spear. Roar! A true dragon flew out and pounced on the other party. This move again. Break for me. The three-eyed god race roared and swung his giant axe down, splitting the true dragon in half. However, the true dragon immediately exploded, turning into countless runes that covered the axe. Following the axe, it spread to the other party's body, forming a powerful sealing power. That's right, Lu Ming had successfully merged the illusory spirit scroll and the sealing scroll together. This move contained 2 of the 9 scrolls of the formation Dao. Damn it! The three-eyed divine race member roared and erupted with all of his strength. Black light erupted from his entire body. Those symbols dimmed and collapsed one after another. Again, Lu Ming thrust out his spear again. Once again, a true dragon flew out and collided with the opponent's battle axe. This time, an astonishing rumble was heard, and the opponent's battle axe vibrated. This move was a combination of the Illusory Spirit Codex and the Destruction Codex, and its prowess was enhanced significantly, allowing him to successfully fend off the other party's attack. If I combine the 3 scrolls, it will be even more powerful, Lu Ming thought. At the same time, he kept thrusting out with his spear, but in the end, he still failed. Combining 3 scrolls was much more difficult than combining 2 scrolls. If I can combine the Destruction Codex and the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger, wouldn't the power of the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger increase exponentially? Lu Ming suddenly had a flash of inspiration, and his eyes lit up. The power of the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger was already very strong, but if it was combined with the Destruction Codex, it would definitely be even stronger. However, this involved the fusion of 2 types of laws, which was even more mysterious. Lu Ming tried a few more times, but he did not succeed. However, this was a direction. As long as Lu Ming kept trying, he would eventually succeed. Now, let's finish you off. Killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He kept thrusting out with his spear, using the fusion of the Illusory Spirit Codex and the Sealing Scroll. At the same time, he used the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger with his left hand, attacking from both sides. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 exchanged several dozen moves before Lu Ming finally gained the upper hand. The other party's body was covered in a dense layer of talisman scripts, affecting his strength. Pooh! Lu Ming pointed, and the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger pierced through the other party's body. Half of the other party's body exploded. The other party roared and turned to flee. Lu Ming gave chase. However, the other party was indeed very strong, comparable to Lu Ming. Despite suffering injuries, the other party quickly fled far away. Lu Ming could only give up on the chase. A quasi-emperor-level sovereign body was indeed very strong. Lu Ming could only defeat the other party after bringing out his full power and using 2 types of laws. However, he still could not kill the other party. Lu Ming turned around and continued hunting the 3-eyed divine race with Xiang Xiang. On the other side, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang were engaged in a life-and-death battle with 2 quasi-emperors. Given the 3's combat prowess, fighting 2 quasi-emperors was very difficult. This was a true life-and-death battle, with their lives in danger at any moment. Huang Ling used her Undying Flame laws to execute the Undying Cage. While attacking, she also defended. As for Long Chun, his body swelled up like a giant. Every time he attacked, an elephant's trumpeting sounded. The divine image stepped on the air and attacked the other party. As for Luo Xiang, he was moving around. He held a rusty iron sword in his hand, but it was incomparably sharp. His movements were sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and the speed of his sword was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, making it hard for people to guard against. Even so, under the terrifying attacks of the quasi-emperor, they were still in a perilous situation, facing fatal danger. Die for me! A quasi-emperor suddenly launched himself at Luo Xiang. A terrifying force sealed the space around Luo Xiang, making it difficult for him to move quickly. Then, a berserk attack charged at Luo Xiang. Of the 3, Luo Xiang's cultivation was the lowest. The quasi-emperor wanted to kill Luo Xiang first before moving on to the others. Oh no! Huang Ling and Long Qin's expressions changed drastically. They wanted to help, but were blocked by the other quasi-emperor. They could not rush over immediately. Die! That quasi-emperor had a ferocious look in his eyes as he attacked Luo Xiang. In the face of a life-and-death crisis, Luo Xiang was very calm. His eyes narrowed slightly, flickering with a terrifying sharpness. In his sea of consciousness, his sword's soul vibrated and the iron sword in his hand buzzed. At this moment, he circulated all his strength. Whoosh! A sword light burst out, illuminating the sky. It was extremely stunning. Puff! The attack of that three-eyed divine being was forcefully broken. These brats must die. The three-eyed divine being roared in his heart. These youths were too strong. In the future, when they grew up, they would be a great enemy of their race. He charged at Luo Xiang again. Clang! The iron sword in Luo Xiang's hand vibrated and emitted a resplendent light. At this moment, a powerful aura erupted from his body. He broke through. At the critical moment, Luo Xiang broke through. Chapter 1995. He broke through. Great! Long Chun and Huang Ling were overjoyed. Luo Xiang's battle power increased greatly after his breakthrough. He broke through the enemy's attack and fought with Huang Ling and Long Chun. Luo Xiang's breakthrough increased their battle power. They were finally able to fight with the enemy. No one noticed that a cold gaze swept over Lu Ming and the others from time to time. It was Feng Wuchen. These people will be a huge threat to the Feng tribe sooner or later. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible. Feng Wuchen's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He then transmitted his voice to his subordinates. Then, they attacked some of the three-eyed divine beings. After a few moves, they suddenly changed direction and charged toward Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Xiang. The three-eyed divine beings chased after them. Soon, they were close to Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Xiang's battlefield. Oh no! Huang Ling and the others' expressions changed. Feng Wuchen wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife. He wanted to lure the three-eyed divine beings to them so that they could kill them. You guys came at the right time. These guys are the top prodigies of the human race. They will be a huge threat in the future. We have to get rid of them first. One of the three-eyed divine beings who was fighting with Huang Ling and the others shouted. He wanted the other three-eyed divine beings to kill Huang Ling and the others. Okay, let's kill these people first. The three-eyed divine beings who were chasing Feng Wuchen and the others immediately gave up on them and charged toward Huang Ling and the others. Among Feng Wuchen and the others, only Feng Wuchen was a top prodigy. The others were all old and had limited potential. Compared to killing Feng Wuchen and the others, the three-eyed divine beings were more willing to kill Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Xiang. At least 3 or 4 boundary emperors and more than 10 absolute saints charged toward Huang Ling and the others. The three's expressions changed drastically. They quickly retreated but were held back by the 2 boundary emperors from before. Haha! Feng Wuchen was overjoyed. The process was smoother than he thought. He led the Feng tribe's elites and quickly left. On the other side, Lu Ming also noticed this. Oh no! Lu Ming's face turned ugly. With a wave of his hand, a ray of saint power swept up Xiang Xiang and quickly rushed towards Huang Ling and the others. However, he was still quite a distance away from Huang Ling and the others. It would take some time for him to reach them. Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Xiang were besieged by so many quasi-emperors and immediately fell into fatal danger. Puff! Long Chun's body was penetrated by a beam of destructive light. His flesh and blood exploded. The scene was extremely horrifying. Luo Xiang didn't have it easy either. One of his arms was chopped off. Although Huang Ling had the undying flame laws, she blocked even more attacks and suffered heavy injuries. As soon as they exchanged blows, the 3 of them were heavily injured and fell into a crisis. All of you, retreat! Long Chun roared, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. His fists punched out continuously, and the silhouettes of divine elephants appeared one after another. They charged toward the other party in the air. He fought against a few boundary emperors alone so that Huang Ling and Luo Xiang could have a chance to escape. However, he was alone, and his battle prowess was limited in the end. The divine elephant was destroyed, and his body was blasted. Half of his body directly exploded, and he almost died. Die. A three-eyed boundary emperor's eyes flashed with a ferocious glint. He swung his giant axe at Long Chen's head. If this attack landed, Long Chen would definitely die. Just then, Long Chen, Huang Ling, and Luo Xiang's bodies flickered like phantoms. In the next moment, they appeared 1,000 meters away. The three-eyed boundary emperor's attack missed. A petite figure appeared beside Huang Ling and the others. It was Bubble's timely intervention that saved them. Kill. The three-eyed boundary emperor charged toward Bubble. You are the ones who will die. Chirp chirp. Bubble pressed her small hand down, and the void fluctuated. More than a dozen absolute saint-level three-eyed boundary emperors' bodies were directly torn into pieces by the power of space. Even the few boundary emperors retreated frantically, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Space-time laws. No, retreat. A three-eyed boundary emperor's expression changed drastically, and he wanted to retreat. However, a few transparent bubbles appeared and enveloped them. Die. A cold voice rang out from the sky. Following that, a spear ray pierced through the top of their heads. A total of 7 boundary emperors were killed in an instant. Lu Ming's figure descended. With a wave of his hand, he kept the three-eyed boundary emperor's corpse. Then, he stepped out and appeared beside Huang Ling and the others. Heal your wounds first, Lu Ming said. Long Chen, Luo Xiang, and Huang Ling were severely injured, especially Long Chen and Luo Xiang. Their bodies were about to explode. However, with the strength of their spiritual bodies, it was not difficult for them to regrow their limbs. The 3 of them sat cross-legged in the air and began to heal their wounds. Lu Ming and Bubble stood guard around them. Any three-eyed boundary emperor that attacked them were mercilessly killed by them. Long Chen and Luo Xiang's bodies began to heal and recover. A few hours later, their external injuries had healed. However, it would take them a few days to recover to their peak condition. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the war drums sounded, and the three-eyed boundary emperor began to retreat. Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with cold-killing intent. Then, he stepped toward the direction of the base. Luo Tianyi, Huang Ling, and the others looked at each other and followed Lu Ming. Soon, they returned to the base. Lu Ming did not stop. He went straight up and finally arrived in front of a majestic palace. This palace was the Wind Clan's encampment. Lu Ming walked toward the door of the palace. Stop, this is the base of the Feng tribe. Other than the members of the Feng tribe, only those who are invited can enter. Are you invited? In front of the door, 2 burly men blocked Lu Ming. Get lost, Lu Ming shouted. The 2 burly men's bodies shook violently. They were sent flying and vomited blood. You, how dare you? One of them pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Bam! Lu Ming suddenly took a step forward. A terrifying force surged out and bombarded the door of the Feng tribe's palace. Boom! The door exploded into pieces and flew everywhere. The 2 burly men guarding the door were stunned. Someone dared to smash the door of the Feng tribe's palace. This was a slap to the Feng tribe's face. The commotion here also alarmed the other forces. Figures flew out from the palaces and looked in their direction. It's Lu Ming. He's so bold to smash the door of the Feng tribe. What happened? Why did Lu Ming do this? I heard that Lu Ming and Feng Wuchen have a grudge. There was a lot of discussion. Who is it? You're courting death. Angry roars could be heard from the Feng clan's palace. Many figures dashed out and looked at Lu Ming and the rest with gazes as cold as knives. Where's Feng Wuchen? Ask him to come out and die, Lu Ming shouted, ignoring the Feng tribe's experts. You're Lu Ming? A Feng tribe expert recognized Lu Ming and narrowed his eyes. Chapter 1996. Feng Wuchen, come out and accept your death. Lu Ming shouted again, his voice shaking the entire base. Lu Ming, how dare you break the gate of my Wind tribe for no reason? No matter what, you have to give us an explanation today. A Wind tribe quasi-emperor shouted coldly. Explanation? Bullshit. Scram. Lu Ming swept his gaze over and directly told the other party to scram, not giving him any face. The people of the other factions all had different expressions as they were secretly shocked. The Wind Tribe was an ancient race that had existed since ancient times. They had a deep foundation and were incomparably powerful. However, Lu Ming did not give them any face and directly told them to scram. Boundlessly arrogant. I'll cripple you. A quasi-emperor roared. His figure turned into a gust of wind as he charged at Lu Ming. With a wave of his hand, countless sharp wind blades flew out and attacked Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming did not even look at the quasi-emperor as he directly punched out. The void trembled as the wind blades were sent flying by Lu Ming's violent fist energy and landed on the quasi-emperor's body. The quasi-emperor of the Wind Tribe shrieked miserably as his body flew back and crashed into the wall of the Wind Tribe's palace. He lay on the ground, half dead. Everyone was secretly shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was simply terrifying. He had severely injured a quasi-emperor with one punch without even looking. Where's Feng Wuchen? Did he become a coward? Get him out here. Lu Ming stepped forward, and the experts of the Wind Tribe involuntarily took a few steps back. Lu Ming, how dare you come to my Wind Tribe and break our gate? You even injured my people. What are you trying to do? A cold voice rang out as Feng Wuchen walked out of the Wind Tribe's palace. He looked at Lu Ming with an unsightly expression. He had not expected Lu Ming to be so bold as to kill his way into the Wind Tribe's base. I'm here to kill you. Lu Ming continued to step forward. He was very direct and could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Feng Wuchen. Back in the Lotus World, Autumn Moon's injury had something to do with Feng Wuchen. At that time, Feng Wuchen and the experts of the Feng clan joined forces with the people of the Daluo Heaven sect to injure Qiu Moon. Now, Feng Wuchen had gone from bad to worse. Not only did he deliberately make things difficult for them, but he also lured in the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe to kill them. Lu Ming's killing intent towards Feng Wuchen had reached its peak. He could no longer tolerate it. He had to kill Feng Wuchen today. Feng Wuchen's expression changed, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. He retreated behind the experts of the Wind Clan and shouted, Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be so narrow-minded. When you wanted to exchange for resources and treasures, I told you that I didn't have enough and asked you to come back later. Now you hate me and want to kill me. Now is the time when we are united against the enemy, but you want to kill me and cause internal strife. I really suspect that you have already defected to the foreign tribe. Feng Wuchen directly put a label on Lu Ming. He said that Lu Ming was narrow-minded and even said that Lu Ming had defected to the foreign tribe. Huang Ling, Lu Xiang, and the others were so angry that their faces turned green. They had seen shameless people, but they had never seen someone so shameless. Nonsense. You clearly hate my master and us. On the battlefield, you deliberately lured the foreign tribe to kill us. You want to kill us with a borrowed knife. Now you are slandering us. Lu Xiang shouted unhappily. Many people's eyes flickered, and they thought to themselves, I see. Those who could cultivate to this level were all smart people. Previously, when Feng Wuchen had put a label on them, no one believed him. Instead, Lu Xiang's words made more people believe him. No wonder Lu Ming's killing intent was so strong, and he directly killed his way to the Feng tribe's base. It turned out that Feng Wuchen wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife. He deliberately lured the foreign tribe to Lu Ming and the others. How despicable. Many people thought, but no one stood out. The Feng tribe was an ancient tribe and was very powerful. Who would dare to offend them? There were also some people who were gloating, such as the Golden Crow tribe and the Wan family. The conflict between Lu Ming and the Feng tribe intensified, and they were even happier that they killed each other. They hoped that the Feng tribe would kill Lu Ming. Little girl, you're talking nonsense. You're full of nonsense. It's your master who told you to slander me, right? You have to have proof before you speak. Feng Wuchen sneered. That's clearly the case. We can all testify. Lu Xiang said. Testify? What a joke. It's more like you all are working together to slander me. Feng Wuchen sneered. You? Lu Xiang was so angry that her face turned red. Bam! At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly took another step forward and said, Xiang, Why are you talking so much nonsense with this kind of person? Just kill him. Swoosh. Then, Lu Ming suddenly sped up and rushed toward Feng Wuchen. How dare you? Take him down together. The many boundary emperors of the Feng tribe were furious. In an instant, at least 10 boundary emperors attacked Lu Ming. Get lost, Lu Ming shouted. The light of chaos shrouded his body as he used the chaotic calamity finger 10 times in a row. Bam, bam. A series of collisions sounded. The attacks of the 10 boundary emperors were broken. Their bodies trembled violently as they retreated. There was a bloody hole in their bodies, and blood flowed out. Hiss! Many people gasped in shock. 10 boundary emperors working together were no match for Lu Ming. They were instantly injured by Lu Ming. This kind of combat power was too shocking. Feng Wuchen, you must die today. Lu Ming took another step forward. Feng Wuchen's face turned pale, and he couldn't help but retreat. Enough! At this moment, a cold voice sounded. A figure walked out of the Feng tribe's palace, and a vast aura spread out. Emperor's aura. This was a martial emperor. Feng Wuchen was overjoyed. Lu Ming couldn't do anything to a martial emperor. Elder, Lu Ming is lawless. Not only did he break the door of the Feng tribe, but he also injured the elites of the Feng tribe. Quickly kill him. Feng Wuchen shouted. Lu Ming looked at the Feng tribe's martial emperor and said calmly, as a martial emperor, I dare you to attack me. His words made the Feng tribe's martial emperor frown. The people of the other forces were also shocked. They thought of Uncle Kong a few years ago. There was an extremely powerful figure behind Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, Uncle Kong probably wouldn't say anything if a boundary emperor attacked. However, if a martial emperor attacked, would Uncle Kong make a trip to the Feng tribe? Lu Ming, don't push your luck. You'll break easily if you're too hard. Leave. I'll forget about what happened today. The Feng tribe's martial emperor said. Many people's eyes flashed. The Feng tribe's martial emperor's words were equivalent to giving in. Feng Wuchen's eyes flashed with unwillingness. Today, he had a good reason to kill Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming clearly didn't appreciate it. You can let this matter rest, but I didn't say so. Feng Wuchen deliberately led the foreign races to kill us. He must die. Lu Ming's voice was cold, and the killing intent on his body intensified, causing the temperature to drop. Lu Ming, you're going overboard. Don't think that you can be lawless with an old man backing you. My Feng tribe doesn't fear you. Chapter 1997. Lu Ming sneered. Fearless? If he was really fearless, he wouldn't have wasted so much time talking to Feng Wuchen. He would have slapped him to death. Kill. Lu Ming let out a long howl and launched an attack. His figure suddenly charged toward Feng Wuchen. Many people sighed. Lu Ming was still the same Lu Ming, the Lu Ming who had stirred up the storm in the ancient moon's sacred ground. He was still so daring to kill the Feng clan's king body Feng Wuchen in front of the Wind clan's martial emperor. How dare you? The Wind clan's martial emperor shouted and pressed down with one hand. A powerful aura acted on Lu Ming's body. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to have solidified. Lu Ming felt as if hundreds of mountains were pressing down on him. His body suddenly stopped moving. Bubble, let's attack together. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubble. Bubble had been sitting on Lu Ming's shoulder. At this moment, her face was red. Space-time light spread out, and her small hand slashed forward like a knife. Zzz. The space fluctuated violently as if it was about to split open. The Wind clan's martial emperor's power on Lu Ming was also torn apart. Break! Lu Ming shouted. The light of primal chaos erupted as he pointed with his finger. The primal chaos energy surged. The power of the primal chaos tribulation finger gathered at one point and merged with Bubble's power. Boom! That space surged, and a tear appeared in the martial emperor's energy. Not good. The Wind clan's martial emperor's face changed. But in the next moment, Lu Ming's figure disappeared. He broke through the martial emperor's power and suddenly appeared in front of Feng Wuchen. He grabbed at Feng Wuchen. Feng Wuchen originally thought that with the martial emperor present, he would be safe. He never expected that Lu Ming could break through the martial emperor's power and suddenly appear in front of him. He wanted to retreat, But it was too late. Lu Ming grabbed Feng Wuchen's neck. Violent energy surged in and sealed Feng Wuchen's cultivation. Bam! Lu Ming grabbed Feng Wuchen and slammed him onto the ground. The ground rumbled. The floor of the Feng clan's palace was made of hard black gold, but it cracked. Feng Wuchen's entire body was embedded in the black gold. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. His body twitched, and his eyes turned white like a dead fish. The people from the other forces were all dumbfounded and shocked. Firstly, they were shocked that Lu Ming was able to break through the barrier of Martial Emperor's strength. Ordinary cultivators below Martial Emperor would find it hard to move under the suppression of a Martial Emperor. Secondly, they were shocked that Lu Ming had really kept his word. He had seriously injured Feng Wuchen in the Wind Clan's palace before the Wind Clan's Martial Emperor. It looked like he really wanted to kill Feng Wuchen. Fiend. A true fiend. Lu Xiangxiang and the others felt their blood boil as they watched. I advise you to let Feng Wuchen go. The Wind Clan's Martial Emperor's face was extremely gloomy. A terrifying killing intent was brewing in his heart. Lu Ming was actually able to defeat Feng Wuchen despite the obstruction of his power. This made him lose all his face. Moreover, Feng Wuchen couldn't die. He had a peerless monarch physique and his future was unpredictable. He had the potential to become a martial emperor. Although the Wind Clan was an ancient clan with a deep foundation and shocking strength, they didn't have a martial emperor. A martial emperor was too important to a force. Let him go and let him take revenge on me? I won't give him a second chance. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stepped on Feng Wuchen's face. Feng Wuchen's body twitched again. If you kill him, your friends will also die. Several more voices came from the Wind Clan's palace. Each of them exuded a terrifying aura. Martial emperors, they were all martial emperors. One of them had a vast and unfathomable aura. Divine light surrounded him. It was a true emperor. It looked like the Wind Clan was no longer calm. Martial emperors had appeared one after another. The one who spoke earlier was a true emperor. His sharp eyes looked at Xiangxiang and the others. A great true emperor wants to use a few juniors to threaten me? How laughable. Lu Ming's expression darkened. Let Feng Wuchen go or none of you will be able to leave. I know you have an old clan behind you, but that won't scare my Wind Clan. The true emperor coldly spoke. His powerful aura enveloped the group. He only needed a thought to kill them all with Xiangxiang. Master, don't worry about us. Just kill that guy. Xiangxiang shouted. Shut up. The true emperor shouted and raised his hand. A large hand reached for Xiangxiang. Suddenly, space in front of Xiangxiang cracked. A cane flew out and destroyed the hand. Next, the staff grew to the size of a towering tree and slammed down on the Wind True Emperor. Uncle Kong. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He naturally recognized that this walking stick belonged to Uncle Kong. It's Grandpa Kong. Xiangxiang cried out. The true emperor's expression changed. He could feel a terrifying pressure coming from the cane. He let out a long roar. World time erupted, blasting out with the power of the world. Endless wind howled, sweeping towards the walking stick. However, the wind was dispersed and the cane struck the true emperor, sending him flying 100 miles away. He turned pale and vomited blood. Everyone was shocked. One move was enough to injure a true emperor. It's that guy from Grand Development Hall? His power is unfathomable. The experts of the other forces in the ancient moon holy ground discussed in shock. The Wan clan and Celestial Wolf Pagoda had ugly expressions. After all, Uncle Kong killed 2 of their true emperors back then. Several years ago, I told the seniors not to interfere with the matters of the younger generation, especially since they're only a bunch of saints. You void emperors and even true emperors want to fight, so don't blame me for bullying the weak. Uncle Kong's voice came from the cane. Senior, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Feng Wuchen has also suffered. Tell Lu Ming to let him go and the Wind Clan won't interfere. What do you think? The true emperor cupped his fist and said, I won't interfere with the matters of the younger generation. Let them decide whether to kill them or not. You emperors shouldn't interfere either. Uncle Kong said, Senior, you're saying that you must interfere. Starting a war with the Wind Clan won't do you any good. The true emperor coldly said, I'd like to see how you'll do that to me. Uncle Kong said. The martial emperors from the Wind Clan had ugly expressions. It was clear that Uncle Kong was going to interfere. Send a message to the Patriarch. The true emperor messaged a Void Emperor of the Wind Clan. The Void Emperor nodded and secretly sent a message. Lu Ming, do what you want. No need to worry. Uncle Kong's voice came from the cane. The Wind Clan's experts were aghast. Stop! Everyone from the Wind Clan roared. No. Chapter 1998. Now you're afraid. You should have thought of this when you lured the three-eyed divine race to us. Lu Ming said coldly. His murderous intent towards Feng Wuchen was unparalleled. His sacred power condensed into a spear and pierced Feng Wuchen's head. Pluff! The spear pierced Feng Wuchen's head and nailed him to the ground. Feng Wuchen struggled for a bit before losing all signs of life. Dead. An unparalleled king physique had died just like that. He had been killed by Lu Ming in front of everyone in the Feng clan's palace, in front of countless Feng clan powerhouses. You court death. The true emperor of the Wind Clan roared and unleashed his world power towards Lu Ming. Feng Wuchen was the hope of the Wind Clan. Now that he was dead, he had to kill Lu Ming. Looks like you want to die. Uncle Kong's voice came from the walking stick. Clang. Next, a sword was unsheathed. Its hymn echoed across the firmament. Everyone only saw a flash of sword light before the true emperor of the Wind Clan froze in the air. All signs of life disappeared without a trace. Next, a bloody mark appeared on the forehead of the true emperor of the Wind Clan. His body was split in half. Gulp! Many swallowed their saliva, shaken to the core. A true emperor was killed just like that, just like a few years ago. You've gone too far. At this moment, a furious roar came from the distance. Then, a terrifying whistling sound echoed in the sky. In the distance, an endless gust of wind was blowing towards them, covering the entire ancient moon holy ground and enveloping the entire place. Many people felt that it was the end of the world. It was as if the world was about to collapse. The gales were like countless divine weapons. Space was cut apart like tofu, revealing ferocious spatial cracks. Amidst the endless wind, there was a tall and majestic figure. It was as if he was standing between the heavens and the earth, as if a demon god had appeared. A terrifying pressure pressed down on everyone, making it hard to breathe. Clan Master! The Clan Master is here. They're dead for sure. The experts of the Wind Clan rejoiced. It's the Wind Clan Master. Peak True Emperor. Some true emperors from the other powers spoke with a serious tone. That's right. Peak True Emperor. Many people gasped. The Wind True Emperor killed earlier was a one-star True Emperor who had just become a True Emperor not long ago. The Wind Patriarch was a 7-star True Emperor. The difference in strength between the two was unfathomable. It seemed that the Wind Clan was enraged, and the clan leader had personally taken action. That brat Lu Ming is dead for sure. That old man from the Great Pill Development Palace is also dead for sure. Haha. The Golden Crow Clan, the Wan family, and the other forces were overjoyed. Lu Ming, Uncle Kong, weren't you arrogant? Now you've kicked an iron plate. Who else but a Grand Emperor could compete with a Peak True Emperor? They didn't believe that Uncle Kong was so strong. Today, I'll have you all be buried with dustless. Amidst the endless gales, a cold and emotionless voice rang out as the gales swept towards Uncle Kong and Lu Ming. Clang! The sound of a sword being unsheathed came about again. A sword ray shot out, splitting the sky into two halves. It was truly cleaved into two halves. The entire sky was cleaved apart, revealing a terrifying dark void. The wind brought by the Wind Clan's leader was like a weak candle flame, disappearing without a trace. Then, everyone heard a miserable shriek as a figure frantically retreated. Drops of blood fell from the sky. In the distance, a middle-aged man wearing a green robe appeared. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. This was the Wind Patriarch. Everyone was shocked. The Wind Clan Master was wounded. This was a Peak True Emperor, an overlord of an ancient clan. How could someone like him be wounded by a single slash? His blood splashed across the sky. This was too shocking. More importantly, The other party didn't even appear. He was just controlling a sword from afar, and yet, he was already able to wield such fearsome might. It left one's heart trembling, and it was difficult for one to calm down. A Grand Emperor? Is he a Grand Emperor? Someone spoke with great difficulty, his voice carrying shock and disbelief. Controlling a sword from such a distance and causing a peak true emperor to bleed? Who else but a Grand Emperor could do this? A Grand Emperor. The ancient moon's sacred ground was hiding a Grand Emperor. The old man from the Grand Development Pill Hall was a Grand Emperor. Everyone shuddered at this thought. A peak true emperor was only one step away from a Grand Emperor. However, this step was the difference between heaven and earth. It was difficult to cross. This was especially true for the Golden Crow tribe, Wan Clan, Skywolf Pagoda, and other powers that had a grudge against Lu Ming. Their expressions were ugly and filled with worry. Uncle Kong, is this strong? Even Lu Ming's group was astonished. Since you've had a hard time cultivating, I'll spare you this time. If there's a next time, I'll kill you. Uncle Kong's voice came from the cane again. It was filled with a murderous aura. The Wind Patriarch's expression was ugly with a hint of fear. He gritted his teeth and cupped his fists. Senior, there's something I must clarify today. Speak. Uncle Kong's voice came again. The Wind Clan can let bygones be bygones. The Wind Patriarch said. These words made many people's hearts tremble. It was obvious that the Wind Clan had taken a step back. In other words, Feng Wuchen's death today was in vain. However, everyone could understand that a Grand Emperor was standing behind Lu Ming. What could they do? Courting death? The other members of the Wind Clan were unwilling and humiliated. However, they could only endure the humiliation. The Wind Clan has only yourselves to blame, and you still want to pursue the matter? Continue. Uncle Kong's indifferent voice sounded. Senior, the Wind Clan can let this matter rest this time. However, if Lu Ming relies on your support and kills the people of the Wind Clan on sight, or even invades the Wind Clan will definitely retaliate. If he wants to kill the martial emperors of the Wind Clan with a saber, the martial emperors of the Wind Clan will not stand there and let him kill them. In that case, even if Lu Ming has your support, the Wind Clan will not hesitate to fight. Senior, even if you can kill me, the Wind Clan will scatter and hide. You won't be able to kill all of us. Senior, you can't protect these juniors forever. The clan leader of the Feng Clan said, his voice filled with determination. If Lu Ming wantonly killed their people, the Wind Clan would not hesitate to fight. Uncle Kong could protect Lu Ming and Xiang for a while, but could he protect them forever? Unless they did not go out. The clan leader of the Feng Clan had no choice. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill the people of the Feng Clan without any scruples just because he had the backing of a great emperor. If that was the case, they would rather fight to the death. Senior, the Golden Crow Clan also means the same. We can't allow ourselves to be killed and not fight back. Chapter 1999. The Wan Clan has the same intention. The Heavenly Wolf Pagoda. Following this, true emperors from the Wan Clan, Heavenly Wolf Pagoda, Violet Extreme Sect, and other factions that had a grudge against Lu Ming stepped forward to express their intentions. They would not allow themselves to be killed by Lu Ming. If that was the case, they would rather fight. This old man has already said it in the past, but it seems like you did not understand. Today, this old man will say it again. Lu Ming is now in the Sage Realm. If anyone below the Martial Emperor realm wants to fight him, this old man will not interfere. If you can kill him, it's your own strength. If he achieves the Martial Emperor realm and becomes an illusionary emperor, then all of you can fight him. If he can't defeat you, then it's his own fault. Similarly, if he achieves the true Emperor realm, then all of you can fight him. This old man will not interfere. Uncle Kong's voice resounded. The eyes of the people from the Wind Clan, Golden Crow Clan, and other factions flickered. Currently, those below the Martial Emperor realm could not fight Lu Ming. Almost no one was a match for him. However, as long as Lu Ming broke through to the Illusionary Emperor realm, all of the Illusionary Emperors would be able to fight him. The Void Emperor was divided into 1 star to 7 stars. The difference between 1 star and 7 stars of battle prowess was like heaven and earth. As long as Lu Ming broke through to the illusionary emperor realm, it would be their chance. All right, there are so many people here today. I hope Senior will keep his promise, the Wind Clan leader said with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. With Lu Ming's talent, it was almost certain that he would achieve the martial emperor realm. As long as Lu Ming broke through to the illusionary emperor realm, he would eliminate Lu Ming at all costs. This old man will keep his promise. Get lost. Uncle Kong's voice resounded. Then, with a shake of his walking stick, he disappeared without a trace. The clan leader of the Feng clan cast a cold glance at Lu Ming before he turned around and left. Let's go, Lu Ming said. Then, he left with Xiang Xiang and the others towards the peak of the mountain. They wanted to exchange their spoils of war for resources. He was clear in his heart that the reason why Uncle Kong set such a rule was to train him. After he broke through to the empty emperor realm, all the empty emperors of the other party would be able to attack him. To him, this was indeed a great pressure, but it had the effect of tempering himself. Of course, if an emperor were to take action, it wouldn't be training, it would be crushing. Such a condition gave the Wind Tribe and the Golden Crow Tribe hope to kill Lu Ming. The other side naturally agreed. Otherwise, as the other side had said, they wouldn't hesitate to fight to the death. All of this was naturally built on the terrifying combat strength of Uncle Kong. Only a powerful deterrence could make the other party yield. Lu Ming and the others came to the place where they could exchange for treasures and resources. This time, no one made things difficult for them. They exchanged the third eye of the three-eyed divine race for all sorts of useful treasures. Lu Ming mainly focused on sacred medicines and origin stones. Within the mountain river diagram in the Phoenix Palace's encampment, Lu Ming continuously threw sacred medicines into the Great Development Cauldron. He controlled the cauldron's fire to refine the sacred medicines. The medicinal energy of the sacred medicines seeped into Autumn Moon's body. Autumn Moon quietly floated within the Great Development Cauldron. Her face was rosy, and she looked normal on the outside. However, she didn't wake up for a long time. Now that the foreign tribes are invading, I don't know where Wanxiang Tower is. Autumn Moon, once the foreign tribes are defeated, I will definitely find Wanxiang Tower and find a way to save you. Lu Ming whispered. Then, he closed the cauldron's lid and kept the cauldron in his sea of consciousness. Next, Lu Ming took a step forward and arrived at another mountain peak. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu's physical body stood on this mountain peak and continuously absorbed the energy from the outside world. However, the energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was less than 1%. The Heavenly Emperor's physical body was like a huge water tank. The energy was like water. It was too difficult to fill this tank with water. After such a long time, Lu Ming had used more than 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones, but it was still less than 1%. God knows how long it would take to reach 100%. However, this was the physical body left behind by the Heavenly Emperor. Even if only 10% of the energy was stored, the power would be shocking if it exploded. At this moment, Lu Ming took out a pile of storage bracelets. They were all storage bracelets that he had obtained from the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe. Then, he organized the items in these storage bracelets. Then, a pile of black crystals appeared on the ground. They were piled up like a mountain peak. It was unknown how many there were. These crystals were also a type of energy crystallization. They were very similar to origin stones. However, instead of origin chi, they were a type of strange energy. Martial artists could also absorb and refine them. However, the difficulty of refining them was much higher than origin chi. Lu Ming planned to refine the energy of these crystals into the Heavenly Emperor's physical body. Bam! Bam! Lu Ming waved his hand and a large number of crystals exploded, turning into billowing energy that was absorbed by the Heavenly Emperor's physical body. In the next few days, Lu Ming did not fight. He focused on refining the crystals for the Heavenly Emperor's physical body. In 3 days, all the crystals were refined. The energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body finally broke through 1% and reached 1.5%. Lu Ming was delighted. He was getting closer to 10%. Back then, The Heavenly Emperor imprint had told him that he could only control the Heavenly Emperor's physical body when the stored energy was at 10%. Because the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was a stone man, it was now like a puppet. Without enough energy, it could not be activated. As long as the energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body reached 10%, the Heavenly Emperor's physical body would become Lu Ming's greatest trump card. In the following days, he continued to fight with the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe and train on the battlefield. He didn't know if it was because the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe divided into 8 groups, but the forces that came to the ancient Moon Holy Land were not strong. After more than half a month, the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe was gradually suppressed by the ancient Moon Holy Land and even retreated. Everyone was overjoyed. It seemed that the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe was not that difficult to deal with. At this time, a news spread throughout the land of Yuan Mountain. In the ancient capital of Yuan Mountain, Heavenly Fire Great Emperor, Chaotic Heaven Great Emperor, and Wu Xiang Great Emperor, the 3 Great Emperors, announced to the world that they had gathered all the powerhouses in the land of Yuan Mountain to prepare for a full-scale counterattack. As soon as the news came out, the land of Yuan Mountain was shaken. Countless powerhouses gathered in the ancient capital of Yuan Mountain. When Lu Ming and the others heard the news, they were also overjoyed. These 3 Great Emperors were the 3 Great Emperors who founded the Yuan Mountain Holy Court. After the battle in Celestial City, there was no news of the 3 Great Emperors. Lu Ming and the others were worried that the 3 Great Emperors would be in trouble. Now, it seemed that they were fine. In the ancient Moon Holy Land, all the major forces sent their experts to the ancient capital of Yuan Mountain to meet with many powerhouses and launch a counterattack. Lu Ming and the others followed the powerhouses of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect to the ancient capital of Yuan Mountain to participate in the battle. The ancient capital of Yuan Mountain was located in the north of the land of Yuan Mountain. Not long ago, this place was once the #1 holy land in the land of Yuan Mountain. However, after the emergence of Celestial City, the #1 throne was retired. Chapter 2000. Lu Ming and the others found a place to stay. 3 days later, clang, 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 the majestic sound of the bell resounded throughout the primordial mountain ancient capital. The great emperors had gathered all the experts. In the primordial mountain ancient capital, countless powerhouses gathered towards the place where the bell rang. So many experts. Xiang Xiang looked up and looked around. Countless figures whizzed past. Some people's auras were particularly terrifying. Even if they did not deliberately release their auras, the faint emperor's aura could still be clearly felt. Martial emperors. So many martial emperors had formed an army of martial emperors. The number of emperor-level forces that were scattered outside the 9 great sacred lands gathered together was astonishing. Of course, the number of paragon saints and boundary emperors was the largest. It was extremely difficult to become an emperor. Since ancient times, countless martial artists had been stuck at the boundary emperor level, unable to break through. Therefore, at a glance, there were boundary emperors everywhere. Not long after, they arrived at an incomparably wide plaza. In the center of the square, there was a large bell that was constantly vibrating. Countless figures had gathered around the square. So many experts gathered together to launch an attack. It's really going to destroy the world. Lu Ming was also secretly shocked. Whoosh, whoosh. Experts continued to arrive, and more people gathered around the square. Look, it's the ancient Sun Sacred Grounds Divine Origin Empire and the Purple Flame Villa's only sacred palace. Nearby, someone whispered. Lu Ming looked over and saw people from the 3 major forces of the ancient Sun Sacred Ground. Among the people of the Divine Origin Empire, Ouyang Wushuang also looked at Lu Ming and nodded with a smile. However, the strongest force of the ancient Sun Sacred Ground, the Daluo Heaven Sect, did not send anyone. It's the people of the Heavenly Profound Sacred Ground and the Dragon Abyss Sacred Ground. One by one, the powerful forces of the Sacred Grounds arrived. Behind them, several ancient clans arrived. Lu Ming saw the ancient sacred clan. Among the ancient sacred clan's crowd, Xian Yinjuan's snow-white robe was very eye-catching. The ancient sacred clan was a very powerful ancient clan. There were strong and weak ancient clans. Some ancient clans were weaker, such as the Wind Clan. Although the Wind Clan was an ancient clan, they did not have a great emperor. As for the ancient sacred clans, it was said that they were led by great emperors. However, he didn't see a single person from the two famous heavenly emperor-level forces in Celestial City, the Hung family and the He family. The Hung family, the He family, and the Daluo Heaven sect, the three emperor-level forces, didn't send anyone. What's going on? Many people were disappointed. With the addition of the three martial monarch factions, their strength would be a lot stronger. Perhaps the three great factions will fight somewhere else. I'm just afraid that they'll hide and not fight. Many people guessed. At this moment, three figures suddenly appeared in the sky, and the whole place quieted down. The three great emperors had arrived. Lu Ming and the others had seen one of the elders before. It was Emperor Wu Xiang. As for the other two, one of them was a burly man in a fiery red robe. He should be the heavenly fire emperor. The other was an old man in a black robe. He was the chaotic heaven great emperor. With the appearance of the three great emperors, the entire place fell silent. I am Wu Xiang. This old man is heavenly fire. I'm Hun Tian. The three martial monarchs spoke. Greetings, great emperor. Everyone bowed and paid their respects. As long as the heavenly emperors didn't appear, the great emperors were the pinnacle. They deserved everyone's respect. Thank you for coming. Next, we'll fight the enemy together. Emperor Wu Xiang said, We're willing to live and die together with the great emperor. Many people shouted, Good. But before the battle, let me tell you about the origin of the foreign tribes. I'm afraid that many people here don't know the origin of the foreign tribes. Emperor Wu Xiang said. Many people shook their heads. During this period, they only knew that the foreign tribes came from another world. They were cruel and violent and killed anyone they saw. Everyone knows that the world we're in is called the Yuan realm. The world close to the Yuan realm is called the Heaven realm. The two worlds are twin worlds and can communicate with each other. However, the history of cultivation in the Heaven realm far exceeds that of the Yuan realm. Many of the cultivation methods in the Yuan realm were passed down from the Heaven realm. Emperor Formless explained. Everyone listened quietly. Many of them had already known about this secret long ago. As for the foreign tribes, they come from another world called the Evil Prison Realm. The living beings in this world call themselves the God Race, but that's just boasting. We call them the Evil Race or the Evil God Race. In ancient times, the Evil God Race opened a void passage and attacked the Heaven realm. They waged a fierce war with the Heaven realm. The Evil God Race was ruthless and cruel. Wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass grew. They killed all living beings on sight. Blood flowed like rivers. Even the old, weak, women, and children were not spared. At this point, Emperor Wu Xiang waved his hand, and images appeared in the air. In the images were the scenes of the Evil God Race's attack. Wherever they passed, countless living beings died tragically. Their corpses formed mountains. It was a tragic sight. Images flashed past. Some of the images were of great battles. Many powerful forces were annihilated under the attack of the Evil God Race. Lu Ming discovered that apart from the three-eyed God Race, there were other races in the Evil God Race. All of them were incomparably terrifying and unpredictable. In ancient times, the Heaven realm was no match for them. Countless powerhouses died in battle, and countless powerful forces were annihilated. At that time, when the war reached its climax, the void was pierced through. Many relics of the Heaven realm fell into the primordial realm. The corpses of some powerhouses fell into the primordial realm, forming some forbidden lands now. Of course, there were also powerhouses from the Evil God Race who took the opportunity to enter the primordial realm. Later on, the void repaired itself, and it was very difficult for the Evil God Race to come over. And those Evil God Race who entered the primordial realm back then secretly formed many terrifying forces, such as the Demon Spirit Sect, Evil Spirit Sect, and others. They specialized in hunting down the primordial realm's geniuses and powerhouses. Last time, it was these existences who opened the void passage and let the Evil God Race enter Celestial City. After Emperor Wu Xiang explained, many people finally understood what was going on. So the demon spirit sect, evil spirit sect, and other forces were all created by the evil god race. No wonder. These evil sects should be eradicated as soon as possible. Many people discussed. Evil spirit sect. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. The current Song state was still under the control of the evil spirit sect. However, the void passage opened by the evil god race this time is only a small one. It's not stable. Thearchs or those above the Archrealm cannot pass through. Once they force their way through, the void passage will collapse. Therefore, those who can pass through are only existences below the Archrealm. Emperor Wu Xiang continued. Everyone's eyes lit up. It turned out that the other party's powerhouses above the Archrealm could not pass through. This was definitely good news. Don't be happy too early. This is just a small battle. In the future, if the evil god race really breaks through the void and opens a stable void passage, or if the remaining powerhouses of the heaven realm are lost, then the evil god race will descend en masse. Therefore, the final battle will come sooner or later. Chapter 2001. Yes, what if the other party launched a large-scale attack in the future? Some people showed a look of despair. Therefore, we must win this battle. If we can't even win this small battle, how can we fight in the future? How can we annihilate the evil god tribe? Emperor Wu Xiang's voice grew louder and louder as his aura grew stronger and stronger. It was as if he was a ferocious tiger. Many people clenched their fists tightly together. Are you willing to chase after us and win this battle? Annihilate the evil god tribe. Protect your family, protect your loved ones, and protect your friends? Emperor Wu Xiang's voice became louder and louder, filled with an indomitable aura. Yes, yes. Many people roared, their voices shaking the sky. Especially some of the young people, their blood was boiling. Wasn't it just the evil god tribe? It was just a battle. In order to protect what they wanted to protect. So what if they died in battle? All right, next, we will be divided into 3 armies, led by the 3 of us. We will form a triangle and completely annihilate the evil god tribe. Emperor Wu Xiang announced. After that, all the powerhouses were divided into 3 armies, led by the 3 great emperors. All the forces of the ancient moon's sacred ground followed Emperor Wu Xiang. A day later, the armies set off towards the evil god tribe. Of course, the martial emperors on their side dealt with the martial emperors of the other side, and those below the martial emperors dealt with those below the martial emperors. This battle almost annihilated the evil god tribe's army in the north of the Yuan Mountain sacred ground. After that, the evil god tribe mobilized their armies from several other directions, and there was also an army from the celestial city. Both sides engaged in a fierce battle in the north of the Yuan Mountain sacred ground. This battle became a stalemate, and it lasted for half a year. For half a year, Lu Ming and the others were constantly fighting, tempering themselves, and often walking on the edge of life and death. For them, their improvement was very fast. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm, and he was slowly approaching the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. His combat strength was even more shocking. Ordinary boundary emperors would be reduced to ashes with a punch. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Huang Li, and the others had also made great progress, and they had all reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Tianyi had even successfully cultivated the light of law. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others had also touched the edge of the light of law, tempering oneself in the midst of life and death. As long as one didn't die, the results one could achieve were astonishing. If they were to cultivate normally, they wouldn't be able to break through without a few years. The one who improved the fastest was Lu Xiangxiang. Not only did she reach the peak of the Great Saint Realm very early on, but she even stimulated her potential in a great battle and broke through her limit to reach the Absolute Saint Realm. Even Lu Ming was very envious of this speed. However, after entering the Saint Realm, Xiangxiang Beila's cultivation speed had slowed down. In the past half a year, Lu Ming had also brought Ouying Moli, Xuaningxin, and Tian Chue out to participate in the battle. They had all made great progress. Ouying Moli had the body of reincarnation, and he also had the world heart of the reincarnation emperor. His cultivation speed was even more terrifying, and it was only a matter of time before he caught up to Xiang Xiang. In this half a year, Lu Ming had killed countless experts of the three-eyed divine race and obtained countless resources. These resources were all turned into energy and absorbed by the Heavenly Emperor's body. The energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's body had finally reached 9%, not far from 10%. After half a year of fierce fighting, they had gained the overall upper hand. They took back the land occupied by the evil god race and began to attack Celestial City. However, the evil god race relied on the city walls to set up heavy defenses in Celestial City. After many battles, although they had killed countless evil god race members, the evil god race could always replenish their numbers. On this day, Lu Ming had just returned to the barracks after fighting for a while when an old man came to find Lu Ming. Lu Ming knew this old man. He was a teacher of the Origin Mountain Academy. The three great emperors want to see me? When the Origin Mountain Academy's teacher explained the purpose of his visit, Lu Ming was a little stunned. Why did the three great emperors want to see him? Lu Ming didn't ask much. He followed the Origin Mountain Academy's teacher and came to a military tent. In the military tent, the three great emperors were sitting together, seemingly discussing something. Lu Ming, you're here. Seeing Lu Ming, Great Emperor Wu Xiang smiled. Greetings to the three great emperors. Lu Ming bowed, and the teacher from the Yuanshan Sacred Academy left the room. Lu Ming, I'm looking for you this time because I have something to ask you for help. Great Emperor Wu Xiang said with a smile. Ask me for help? Lu Ming was even more confused. The great emperors were looking for him for help. What was going on? If even the great emperors couldn't handle it, it was useless to look for him. Lu Ming, you have also seen the battle during this period. Although we have the advantage and are constantly killing the evil god race, the evil god race has always been able to replenish their numbers. It is because of that void passage. As long as there is that void passage, we can't completely annihilate the evil god race. We can only form a stalemate. The land of Origin Mountain can't be stabilized. Great Emperor Wu Xiang said. Among the three great emperors, Great Emperor Wu Xiang was better at talking. Therefore, it was usually Great Emperor Wu Xiang who spoke. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, that void passage was the foundation. As long as that void passage was there, they couldn't completely annihilate the evil god race. But what did that have to do with him? With his current cultivation, he couldn't help much at all. If we want to defeat the evil god race, we have to seal that void passage. This will require Lu Ming's help. Great Emperor Wu Xiang said. Great Emperor, feel free to speak your mind. As long as Lu Ming can help, I will not decline. Lu Ming said. All right, we will bring you to a place. Great Emperor Wu Xiang nodded. Then, with a wave of his hand, a force enveloped Lu Ming. Following that, the space split open. The three great emperors brought Lu Ming and disappeared from the military tent. The next moment, they arrived in a valley. They didn't know where this valley was. It seemed to be very hidden, and there was a powerful force in the air. After arriving here, Lu Ming felt an inexplicable throbbing. It was as if something was attracting him. The few of them moved forward and came to a concave ground. That is, Lu Ming saw a huge stone plate on the ground in front of him. It was circular and looked very ancient, filled with the aura of time. The stone plate was embedded in the ground. No, it should be said that the stone plate fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. Lu Ming could sense that what attracted him was this stone plate. This stone plate has the aura of the law of primal chaos. Lu Ming couldn't help but say, You've sensed it. That's right. This stone plate does have the aura of the law of primal chaos. We speculate that this stone plate is very likely to be the weapon of one of the strongest in the Heaven Realm, the Primal Chaos Emperor. It was rare for the Heavenly Fire Emperor to speak, the weapon of the Primal Chaos Emperor. Chapter 2002. The Primal Chaos Emperor. This stone plate could be a weapon used by the Primal Chaos Emperor. The Primal Chaos Emperor could be considered his master. The Primal Chaos scripture came from the Primal Chaos Emperor. No wonder Lu Ming felt that this stone plate was attracting him the moment he arrived. Lu Ming, we speculate that this stone plate has a terrifying sealing power. If we can control it, We can seal the void passageway of the evil god tribe. It's a pity that we have tried various methods, but to no avail. Therefore, we thought of you. You are the son of primal chaos and cultivate the law of primal chaos. You might be able to control this stone plate and revive it. Emperor Formless said, "All right, I'll try." Lu Ming nodded and stepped forward to the stone plate. The stone plate was very large, like a small mountain. Lu Ming circulated the law of primal chaos and spread it toward the stone plate. Wong. When the law of primal chaos enveloped the stone plate, it seemed to resonate with the stone plate, causing it to vibrate. Yes, Emperor Formless, Emperor Heavenly Fire, and Emperor Chaotic Heaven's eyes lit up. Continue. Lu Ming continued to control the law of primal chaos, enveloping the stone plate from afar. Wong. The stone plate began to vibrate violently. Due to the passage of time, it was covered in a layer of rock. At this moment, the rock crumbled, revealing the stone plate. The stone plate was gray and looked like a primal chaos stone. There were some mysterious runes carved on it. At this moment, those runes lit up. Boom. Finally, the stone plate vibrated and flew up to hover above Lu Ming's head. At this moment, Lu Ming's mind buzzed. He seemed to see a majestic figure controlling the array plate and fighting against an enemy. The Primal Chaos Emperor. Lu Ming's heart shook. That figure was indeed the Primal Chaos Emperor. This stone plate really did look like the Primal Chaos Emperor's weapon. What a mysterious law of primal chaos. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to sense an extremely mysterious and ancient law of primal chaos from the stone plate. It was many times faster than what he comprehended. At this moment, Lu Ming's comprehension of the primal chaos laws seemed to have deepened. During this period of cultivation, his comprehension of the primal chaos law had already reached 95%. However, he now had a feeling that he was close to reaching 96%. Wong. The stone plate continued to vibrate, and the figure of the primal chaos emperor disappeared. The stone plate began to shrink and finally fell into Lu Ming's hand. Haha, looks like it's a success. Emperor Wu Xiang smiled. Heavenly Fire Great Emperor and Chaotic Heaven Great Emperor also smiled. However, the three martial monarchs soon withdrew their smiles. Lu Ming, our original plan was to lead the army and launch an all-out attack to attract the other party's attention. After that, the great emperors would suddenly charge in and kill their way to the void passageway. Then, they would seal the void passageway with the chaos stone plate. However, you should know that even though the enemy's emperors can't enter, there are still quite a number of emperors here. Back then, 2 of them were killed by the heavenly emperor's body, so there are still 8 of them left. During this period of time, we killed another one, so there are still 7 of them. Therefore, it's very dangerous for you to go. We won't force you to go. If you don't want to go, we'll think of another way. Emperor Wu Xiang said, "That's right. Although we'll do our best to protect you, the enemy is an emperor. There's no guarantee that nothing will happen. Therefore, you have to make the decision yourself." Heavenly Fire Great Emperor said. This matter was too dangerous, so Lu Ming had to make the decision himself. "I'll go." Lu Ming agreed without hesitation. A real man had some things to do, and some not to do. How could he refuse such a thing because he was afraid of death? Emperor Wu Xiang and the others nodded in satisfaction when they saw Lu Ming's determined gaze. "Lu Ming, don't worry. Even if we die, we'll protect you." Emperor Wu Xiang said, "If you die, we die too." Emperor Hun Tian spoke for the first time, but his voice was firm and powerful. Lu Ming was very touched. As great emperors, they were high and mighty and powerful. In fact, they could force Lu Ming to do anything. If a few great emperors joined forces, Lu Ming could only obey. However, they didn't. Instead, they asked for Lu Ming's opinion. They promised that they would protect Lu Ming with their lives. As a great emperor, he could do this. Lu Ming was in awe of his character. "Emperors, do we have other emperors?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course. Otherwise, how could the 3 of us be a match for the evil god tribe?" Emperor Wu Xiang said. Lu Ming was enlightened. Indeed, how could the 3 of them be a match for the evil god tribe? Moreover, they had killed one of the evil god tribe's members. There were other emperors in the dark. I'll bring you to meet them now, Emperor Wu Xiang said. Then, he tore open space and brought Lu Ming back to the camp. Emperor Wu Xiang then sent a message. Soon, space rippled and a figure stepped in. This figure was covered in milky white light. It was divine light that was so dazzling that one couldn't open their eyes. The people of the Heavenly God sect in the Tsang province also cultivated divine light, but compared to this, they were trash. Emperor. Lu Ming knew that this was an emperor. His aura wasn't any weaker than Emperor Wu Xiang and the others. Lu Ming, this is the sacred emperor of the ancient sacred tribe. Emperor Wu Xiang introduced. Greetings, sacred emperor. Lu Ming bowed. The chaos gem has awakened, the sacred emperor said coldly, like a high and mighty god. That's right. Emperor Wu Xiang nodded. The sacred emperor didn't say anything else. Then, space rippled and another person arrived. This person was an emperor of the primordial mountain ancient capital. He was like a peerless emperor. As soon as this emperor arrived, space rippled and another figure appeared. Uncle Kong. Lu Ming couldn't help but exclaim when he saw this figure. This figure was actually Uncle Kong. It seemed that Uncle Kong was indeed an emperor. Could it be that Uncle Kong had been secretly participating in the battle? Greetings, Senior Dan Kong. When Uncle Kong arrived, Emperor Wu Xiang and the others clasped their fists at him and addressed him as senior. Even the cold and arrogant Holy Emperor, who was like an emperor, bowed to Count Kong. It seemed that Uncle Kong's seniority was very high. Uncle Kong nodded. He looked very old. His turbid eyes looked at Lu Ming and said, I'll escort Lu Ming in. With Senior Dan Kong taking care of it, we'll naturally be at ease. Then, we'll delay the other emperors. Emperor Wu Xiang said, Seniors, why don't I see the Hung family and He family? Lu Ming wanted to ask about the Hung family, He family, and the Daluo Heaven sect. At this critical moment, those emperors were also nowhere to be seen. Don't mention those cowardly old foxes. When the battle starts, all of them hide and wait to reap the benefits. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.